Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to discuss Barénia Intense by Hermes. Barénia or Barenia Intense by Hermes is a new release, a flanker to the original Barenia or whatever it's called, by Christine Nagel, the house perfumer of Hermes, the one that kind of like inherited Jean-Claude Ellena, which is a very, very difficult act to follow in my opinion. And I have to say that Christine Nagel and what she created was not really to my liking usually. I mean, it's still a very hard act to follow to come after Jean-Claude Ellena, which he is a genius, like come on. I mean, if you know his style. And it's true that Hermes was never really Hermes, like in a way that like it smelled like Hermes because they had other perfumes much before Jean-Claude Ellena. But he really deepened the profile and made Hermes himself, you know, with all the play of vegetal notes, very airy, very transparent, but vegetal notes with geranium and kind of like bitterness and grapefruit, and created things that are really, really beautiful. But Christine Nagel has a different style, obviously, and she inherited him. I don't know why, but like she has like a way to obsess with kind of like mineralic, metallic, stone, volcanic, acid kind of things you see in her fragrances. And I have to say that, you know, there were a few releases which were okay. I think actually the Terre d'Hermès Chypre, which I reviewed here on this channel, is actually magnificent and lovely. And it was the first time that she released something that I actually liked. The other releases like H24 that I don't know why, like it has potential, but always at the base of it because of this play with this mineralic, harsh, kind of like metallic kind of acid thing, always smells on the cheap side for me. So I can't really like it because there's always something that bothers me about it. And anyway, like the other releases in the Hermes line, there was this Agar one, which was actually kind of nice, play with leather and spices, but it was okay, but nothing was like wow, you know. And I'm happy to report that Barénia Intense actually does bring back some kind of the DNA that Jean-Claude Ellena kind of like assimilated in Hermes, because on paper and in terms of notes, it's a very simple kind of like pyramid of patchouli, ginger, lily, and leather. And it smells really good, actually. It's a good patchouli. I would say that's kind of like the late answer in the game of Hermes for Coco Mademoiselle and maybe the other kind of like patchoulis that are trying to chase Coco Mademoiselle, like, I don't know, like Chloe Nomad, and you have Coco Mademoiselle, and you have you know, Narciso Rodriguez, which is a different kind of type of thing, but they all trying to go in this like path. So it's kind of like the answer of Hermes, I guess, to kind of like this slightly deep patchouli thing we see with Coco Mademoiselle over the years that was very, very popular. And it also has a note of oak, which is very interesting. If you grow around or you know oak trees or you use them for firewood or, I don't know, to build something, it has a very specific smell. Also the moss from oakwood and the bark and the kerns, like the nuts like that grow on the tree, they have a very specific smell, and I like oak. In fact, I remember that many years ago I used to use a line from this Greek pharmacy, Kores, that had like a quercus line, the Latin name for oak, and it smelled kind of like similar. And Barénia opens up with a vegetal note. The same vegetal note that you can find actually in Jour d'Hermès, which is a very beautiful, and I think the last perfume that Jean-Claude Ellena maybe created for Hermès. I'm not sure about it, but it's a beautiful, bitter, sour play of flowers and grapefruit, and the same kind of like obsession that Jean-Claude Ellena has with geranium and grapefruit and vegetables. And it has this DNA of Hermès that finally is back. It starts with this very, very vegetal note, and it dries down to a very kind of like deep, airy, muddy patchouli, kind of like backed a little bit by the ginger and lily that kind of like lifts it up in the air and kind of like still give it this vegetal rooty kind of feeling that kind of like stays. And it could be like very harsh at the beginning, or it could be very unpleasant, and then you don't really understand if it goes to the cheap side or it smells like on the good side, but then it kind of like settles down and radiates. And it does remind me of kind of like a concoction between Mystio Chéri, which was more like patchouli with strawberry, at least the original formulation from many years ago, and Coco Mademoiselle with a different twist on this like patchouli kind of thing without fruits in it. And in that it succeeds actually to captivate the DNA of Hermès as it was assimilated by Jean-Claude Ellena, and add also the style of Christine Nagel, which is usually a play of let's do something a little bit metallic, a little bit of like acid leather, things like that. So it's kind of like tamed down in this perfume, and it's really beautiful and it smells good. Actually, when I was at the store and I was trying it out, by mistake I was spraying it on my iPhone screen. And then when I went on my jog and I'm doing intervals, like when I put my phone out to look at it, like I smelled a beautiful kind of like trail in the air, and I thought it's like from the person who jogs like in front of me, and I tried to like kind of like stalk him a little bit to maybe ask him what he's wearing, and I started to like, you know, chase him, but I never did, and then I understood it just coming from the screen of my phone. And it stayed there even after I cleaned my phone with alcohol, which I do daily. And it has a very beautiful sillage of patchouli and oak. It's hard to explain how oak smells like, but sometimes it's smelling kind of like burnt wires that you weld. I mean, if you had science projects when you were a kid and you tried to weld like aluminum, you know, wires with a kind of like an electric welder. So it does give me that sensation of that smell together, and that's how oak smells like for me, if it makes any sense. But Barénia Intense is a very beautiful perfume, and finally I think something serious and kind of like with a body from Hermès. My only criticism lately with Hermès that I don't understand why, since Christine Nagel is there, the bottles became really cheap looking and ugly. I mean, even though they were never cohesive between the lines, they always had like beautiful bottles, whether they were classic or not, or very simple. But now like this calf and you know, H24, which was kind of like, I don't know, taking the old l'Odyssée Issey-Miyake and kind of like turn it into this, looked kind of like cheap. There's no cohesiveness, which is a little bit alarming with the marketing of Hermès, even though they're very successful. But it doesn't matter, you know, like you also need to get a good juice inside. And Barénia Intense is very, very good for the ladies, very good for winter. It is for winter and fall. And it's also very good for men. Like if you like Coromandel by Chanel, and I know some of you guys are using also Coco Mademoiselle, I mean, why not? And if you like those kind of perfumes of Mystio or Chéri, so this is a new take with a more kind of like bitter, barky, earthy, muddy patchouli with a back of ginger and lily. This was my review of Barénia Intense by Hermès. If you like this review, please press the bell button so you get notified for further videos, subscribe, and like my videos. It helps me a lot. I'll see you very soon. Bye!